This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
All right, good evening, everyone. This is the Affordable and Fair Housing Partnership, and today is Thursday, February 24th, and it is 6:48 p.m. Unfortunately, Brad has resigned from the Housing Partnership, which is not altogether surprising since he became a city councilor. We expected that he would have a lot of pressure on his time and have lots of other things to do. So he did email me last week and has resigned, which is a bummer. It also leaves us without someone to take notes. Will you do it, Jackie? Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, there's commotion behind me, so I'm going to stay muted until I need to not be muted, but I'll take notes.
Thank you very much.
Can I just jump in? I'm very tired today, so I won't say much. With some exciting news with the Brad thing, which is I recruited someone for us. And I'm super excited. She's she's like a housing nerd, and we have Zach, which is really exciting. So hi. We always need more people, Zach. So this is like very exciting. So yes, she's like, and she does housing and homelessness for the Mental Health Association. But she couldn't come today. But I'm still very excited about it.
That's very exciting, Kate. She did email me to say she couldn't come tonight. We also have another guest who I fear that I will mispronounce their name. So if they would like to introduce themselves, that would be great. Who is also interested in joining. There.
Yeah, hi. My name's Kayam, lifelong resident of Easthampton, and very interested in affordable housing and social justice. Just graduated from University of North Texas with a social sciences degree. So that has sort of like informed my, take on where I can fit in the town and where I think that my passion and activism is best utilized. So the mayor appointed me to this committee last week, so I'm still waiting on all of that stuff.
Awesome.
But it's great to meet all of you.
Welcome.
Welcome. And actually, I don't know, we didn't do this last time, I think, when Zach was here, but maybe we should just do like super brief, like who we are and like how long have we been on the partnership and what do we do in our non-housing partnership life, just to give folks a sense.
Well, Dana, I'm also wondering, and maybe you can tee this off, if you might want to just give, because we didn't have a lot of time to talk to you either, Zach, just a quick overview, or Jackie could too, of just like the partnership in general. Yeah, because it's kind of this big, like, what do we do?
Yeah.
So the Affordable and Fair Housing Partnership is an advisory committee to the mayor and to other city committees and departments on affordable housing issues. Our mission, which I can't quote off the top of my head, but is to promote and preserve affordable housing in the city. We merged with the Fair Housing Committee about 5 or 6 years ago. Feels like it was like yesterday, but it was actually kind of a long time ago now, because we had similar interests and the Fair Housing Committee was losing membership. So we merged. So we also do place an emphasis on fair housing and making sure that we are promoting fair housing in the city. So, we are an advisory committee, which means we don't actually have any real power. Though I will say that we do, the mayor does seek our advice on housing issues, as does the planning department and some of the other committees, particularly the Community Preservation Act Committee. Oftentimes housing proposals, either development of affordable housing or the Valley CDC proposal, which has to do with supporting renters and first-time homebuyers, come to the housing partnership first, so that we can talk through the proposal and they want us to support the project, so that when they do go before other city committees and boards that have fiduciary power, we are there to say, yes, we support this project. And I do think that those committees would also look to us if we did not support the project. They would want to know that, though that has actually not really happened lately that I can think of. terms of activities, I think our biggest activity that we finished up last year was working on the housing production plan, which is a state certified plan that Easthampton has had. This is our third one. So we had one in 2009, 8, 7.
Yeah, Hetty did the one in 2007.
2007, 2014, and then we updated it in 2020. And the housing production plan sort of lays out a roadmap of sort of our community needs assessment of what kind of needs the city has, and then establishes priorities on how to sort of build more affordable housing. It is a state certified plan, so the Department of Housing and Community Development lays out very specific things that have to be in the plan. So if you read the plan, it offers references those very specific things. And if you have a state certified plan and you meet your minimum number of affordable housing units built in a year, which I think for us is like 38-ish, then you could be exempt from a Chapter 40B project if we wanted to be, which means a developer can propose a project that doesn't meet current zoning if it has a certain percent of affordable housing. Easthampton has had a great experience with lots of friendly 40B projects that have produced really great housing, but some communities, have not had that experience. And so if you have a state certified plan, it helps you give more leverage there. It also helps us be eligible for other programs that the state offers. So we were I can't think of what it was, housing choice community a few years ago. And one of the reasons we were eligible to be a housing choice community is because we had a state certified housing production plan. So it's really good practice that we do it. It also helps the housing partnership with priorities and like things that we want to work on. And to that end, the biggest thing we're working on right now, which we're going to talk about in a minute, is we applied to Citizens Housing and Planning Association, which is a statewide advocacy group on affordable housing. They have a program called the Municipal Engagement Initiative, where they help cities and towns build a coalition of support around affordable housing amongst residents and business owners and other folks in the community. And one of our goals of the housing partnership for many years has been to grow the number of people that are interested in affordable housing and can come out for projects and talk about housing and educate folks. And we applied for the Municipal Engagement Initiative in November, and we were accepted. And so our next step with that, yes, Jackie, it's an official number. Our next step is to finalize this group of folks that we want to invite to a meeting that CHAPA will facilitate for us to help build this coalition of folks that would be separate from the housing partnership, but also could include housing partnership members, but would really be sort of more like a grassroots advocacy group that could come out when we have affordable housing projects. Some of us were around during Parsons Village, which was a pretty contentious project and had a lot of neighborhood opposition. And we really did not have a large group of affordable housing advocates at that time who could talk about the project and could support it. And we think that this is a really great time because the school buildings will become surplus soon. There could be some affordable housing at the school buildings. Valley CDC is also working on a project for the city where they're looking at available sites for affordable housing that could include the school building, but could include other sites that will hopefully result in Valley CDC building an affordable housing project in the city. So there's lots happening. And so sort of doing this initiative with CHAPA, having this meeting, getting people together to talk about housing is going to really help us as we go down farther the road where we actually have a project and want people to show up and people to talk about it and, say, yes, we want this in our neighborhood. That was a lot of information all at once. Does anyone have questions about that?
That was a fabulous summary.
Luckily, I've been keeping up with what you guys have been talking about for the past couple of months, so I kind of already had a gist of what you're talking about. So, yeah.
Well, I will say this, and I can also introduce myself first because it's really exciting, Zach, to have you. And I think you said Kiam. Either way, we are excited to have you. And one of the things is that we use a lot of acronyms and housing stuff, and please stop us, like it's kind of learning as we go. And that there really is a role for like people with different backgrounds on this committee, particularly as we're trying to like engage more people in Easthampton. Because in fact, one of the things about that people who are interested in affordable housing, myself included, do a lot of is we do these acronyms, right? And no one else is interested in acronyms. So people like, we've got someone else, Shira, who just joined the board, and she's like, I don't know if I'm in the right place. And we're like, yeah, you are in the right place, right? Because we need to make this more appealing and inviting to everybody. So I'm Kate. I work in the Department of Mental Health, and I have I was a low-income director of property management, and I've worked for the housing court, and so I worked for Wayfinders, so I know a lot about a little around housing. And I'm also the mom of 2 small kids, and so though I love housing, I don't always have a ton of time for this committee too. So that's the other thing we need, which is people have capacity.
All right.
Since Jackie just reminded me, I did not just introduce myself. So I will just say I'm Jana. I'm the chair of the Housing Partnership. And in my non-housing partnership life, I work at Community Action Pioneer Valley, which is our region's anti-poverty agency. I've also have a background in affordable housing. I used to work at CHAPA in the beginning of my career when I lived out in Eastern Mass. And then I worked at the Amherst Housing Authority for 4 years. And at Community Action, I do a little bit of different things having to do with anti-poverty and basic needs programs, but I also get to do a little bit of housing and homelessness prevention and that kind of stuff. I will pass it to Jackie.
Hi, folks. So I'm Jackie Brousseau Pereira. I am the longest serving member on this board. It's been, my kid's going to turn 15. I started being on this before then. So for a really long time, my day job, I'm an academic dean at UMass Amherst, and my housing background is weird. When I did my master's in public policy, I focused a lot on housing. I'm on the board of Community Action Pioneer Valley. I was a first-time home buyer counselor for Hilltown CDC a long time ago. I worked at a community foundation in Worcester where a lot of the work we did was, well, we funded all the CDCs in the area, and I got to know a lot of the work they did. So some of my housing knowledge, and I worked at Pioneer Valley Planning Commission. I wrote community development block grants 100 years ago too, probably around the time Zach was born. Anyway, so I have a long, weird history. I think I worry sometimes that some of my knowledge of housing is old, but that's why I hold the history, and Kate and Jana and Jamie keep us more up to date on what's happening in the world of housing.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
So I'm Jamie Webb. I'm sorry, did you ask me to speak or?
Either you or Zach, I don't care. Somebody go next.
You broke up, so I was just gonna go.
Sorry.
I'm Jamie. I'm the assistant planner for the city. I'm not actually on the housing partnership. I'm provide administrative support and to the partnership, as well as liaison between the city government day to day and the board. I do a lot of different things in the planning department. And unfortunately, I don't get to spend as much time working on housing as I would like, because I get pulled in all these other different directions too. Block grant management, I liaison with the CPA committee, was working with the Zoning Board of Appeals for a while. You know, the list goes on, but I like this group, and you guys do great things, and trying to make the city more housing more affordable, which recently is not good. I saw a report today that was not very good about housing, but I don't know if you guys all saw this in the Gazette about housing prices increases over the last year and 5 years for the greater Springfield area. And we're right in the middle of a large pricing bubble. So
Mm.
a lot of work to do.
Do you want me to go?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Zach Banis. I've lived in Easthampton for on and off for my whole life. I'm currently going to HCC to get a degree in political science. I am a software developer. I've been doing that for about 5 years now. And I'm also looking to become a first-time home buyer. And that whole process has kind of opened my eyes to the issues surrounding housing, especially in this area. And I'd like to be a part of that solution. I think Easthampton's like an amazing place to live. And I think everybody should have the ability to live here. So that's my spiel.
Thank you. All right, so I'm going to dive into the agenda. I do have something that's not on the agenda that I want to share after we approve the minutes from our January meeting. And I think we can do that because we have a quorum. Did everyone get a chance to review the minutes?
Yes, in depth.
Does anyone have any edits or changes to the minutes?
No.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
I second that motion.
All right, so we have to do a roll call for approving them. So I'm Jana,
I'm Kate.
Kate.
I.
Jackie, I.
Zach,
Zach, Zach, were you an official member last month?
no, I wasn't
No.
sworn in.
All right, so does that mean Zach can't vote? Jamie, I don't know the rules of this.
I think he probably can because he's a member now.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you were at the last meeting.
If
Yeah,
he's
I
on, yeah, I agree with Kate's analysis.
Okay, great. All right, so I really want us to look at the stakeholder list together because I have some holes that I need help filling in. But I also want to tell you something before that. So that Brad called me about yesterday, and Jamie, I don't know if you know this or not, but Brad said that I could tell you all this while the meeting was being recorded. So residents of the Easthampton Housing Authority have reached out to Brad a couple weeks ago, it sounds like, because they have some concerns about stuff going on at the Housing Authority. And they want to form a tenants association. So they contacted the Mass Union of Public Housing Tenants. That might not be correct, but they're a Boston-based organization to provide them technical assistance. And they came out and facilitated a meeting maybe last week. About 40 to 50 residents attended the meeting, which is a lot. Brad attended the meeting, so did Councilor Peak, because it started at Cliffview Manor, which is a property off of Holyoke Street, which is in Precinct 3, which is Councilor Peak's precinct. And there was a lot of like fairly serious sounding concerns, allegations about sort of personal behavior from staff at the Housing Authority, as well as some discriminatory acts, denying reasonable accommodation requests for people with disabilities. And so, supposed evictions over things that people should not get evicted for. And so they did, apparently some group of tenants did try to file agreements with DHCD that I guess did not really go anywhere. DHCD kind of said, this is not, something we do. And just to remind folks, so the Housing Authority is actually not a city department. So it is governed by a board that is appointed by the mayor that governs the Housing Authority, but the housing authorities are special municipal entities. So they technically are state employees, but they are not like the mayor or the city council does not have any like authority over the Housing Authority, cannot remove an executive director. The person does not, report to the mayor, unlike, the planning director or anybody else who works for the city. So the city doesn't have a lot of there's not a lot that the city can do. But the residents did want to go to the media. So the Gazette met with some residents along with Councillor Peak and Councillor Riley, and Brad, Councillor Riley, I should use his formal name, anticipates an article will be forthcoming. So he wanted us to know because he thinks that it's going to come out and it's going to be pretty serious and will, implicate housing authority officials in perhaps, not doing, overseeing enough of what's going on at the housing authority. Councillor Peak is really fired up and wants, some answers. So they do need to have, if they do have a tenants association, they have to appoint officers and have an election. And then as a tenant association in Massachusetts, you do have some rights. And so you can sort of request documents and request things from the housing authority if you want to, look into some issue in more depth. So that's what I know. And Brad thought that something would come out in the Gazette in the next couple of days. So just as a heads up, I don't know, Jamie, if you knew about this already, but Brad did say that he talked to the mayor. The mayor had no issue with involving the media. So just, I guess, stay tuned. There's not really a role here for the housing partnership, but I think it is interesting information. I also think that as we get to, thinking about a coalition for affordable housing, obviously the tenant association could be really important to make sure we bring into the fold or folks that are really active in that association. But it's, it's really tough. And I think, I'm a former housing authority employee from Amherst, and change happens slowly. So even though the tenants, there might be a lot of things that are true and things that need to get addressed, like it's not going to happen overnight. And so this could be going on for a while. Any thoughts, comments? I don't really know anything other than what I just told you, but this I know.
So one thing I can add is I know Joe McCoy, former city council president, Joe McCoy is on the board of the Housing Authority. And I know that they are trying to recruit some more folks to be on that board to do some change there. So again, this is another great place to potentially have a list of supporters of affordable, fair and affordable housing to draw from, not only for our board, but for that board as well. Mm-hmm. So just a thought. And I do think that, we might have media reach out to us, which happens a lot, to ask questions about affordable housing and what we think about what's happening with the housing authority. I think we should be cautious with what we say, only because we don't really know what all is going on so much there. I feel like my standard line is we want affordable housing in Easthampton. We want everyone to have access to fair, affordable, and quality housing. And we would like for that property to be run in a way that people had that, but without knowing any details, that's all I would say.
Great point.
I do wonder though, as we're gonna go look at our CHAPA thing, if it sounds like it's going to be bad press, whether it's accurate or not. And if perhaps we could, I mean, the problem is I don't have any kind of relationship with the housing authority, but if we did, or even if we included that participating in this program might be a positive, I'm just trying to say delicately, would be good press, right? So like when someone's in the midst of bad press. So that's just my only thought. I appreciate what you're saying, Jackie, and I appreciate you sharing, Jenna, but yeah, I don't think there's much we can do except for, just mention this as an opportunity in the invite, even if it's in an email, as an opportunity to positively contribute to the community and perhaps,
Did you want to say something? No, okay. I mean, one thing that I did say to Brad, because some of the tenants were expressing concern about retaliation, is about evictions, and whenever I hear someone say, oh, they were evicted because they said the wrong thing and then the next day they got evicted, I'm always like, really? So, just a reminder that like it's actually fairly hard to get evicted in Massachusetts, and tenants should not get an eviction notice and think that that means that you have to move out the next day. And so I really stress to Brad that that if he starts hearing that he could reach out to us and we could find, talk to legal aid about doing some education to the tenants, because, just receiving a notice from your landlord, even if it's a summons to court, is actually not an eviction. It's a summons to court. You have to go to court, tell your case, and then, until you get the sheriff's notice that says you have to be out, like, do not leave your apartment. And I always worry that people, get a notice to quit or get a summons to court and then up and move out. And that is actually not, they have a lot more rights than that. And so, if folks at the housing authority or anybody really are feeling unsure or confused or worried, that's what community legal aid is for. But also, that there's lots of rights in Massachusetts for tenants. And so I don't want folks to feel like, oh, they're going to put a notice on my door and the next day I have to move out, because that is not true. And Kate knows that better than I, because Kate's, used to work at the Franklin County Court Service. So, all right, well, that's really what I wanted to tell you, just to give you a heads up. And so I guess we'll kind of see what happens with this, and if in fact there's a role for us. Anything else before I move on to the stakeholder list?
Jenna, I'm just also wondering again, and I don't know, Jackie, you can tell us if this is politically wise, but again, I mean, when you've got a situation like this, on some level, it will resolve itself, and however it's going to resolve itself. But just to jump on your idea, Jana, community legal aid actually is helping tenants in ways that they never have before. Well, they haven't in a while, because they have new funds. And so I'm just wondering if there's any capacity. So for example, they're helping a lot of people with reasonable accommodations, and previously they had not been doing so. So I just wonder, and I could actually, I would be happy to facilitate this too, if there would be a role for us to just support getting some resources to the housing authority. And it might require, though, the tenant association to be up and running, because you need how do you coordinate it? But I just wanted to throw that out, because again, since these things do take a while to resolve, maybe some of the, it might be helpful to just have some resources in there to help address on a case-by-case basis. So I don't know what people think about that.
That's a good idea.
I just want to put it out there for the record. The housing authority has, through CPA funds, ability to request as needed CPA funds to pay for reasonable accommodations. It's been approved. Deb Walker, the executive director, knows this, has used it recently. So they're not, I don't know anything about the reasons why they're, approved or denied. I do know that when the request for the reimbursement comes to the city, there is a lot of paperwork with it. There's price quotes, there's a description of the accommodation, there's the medical note from the doctor, and all that. So in these specific situations where they have been denied, I don't know anything about that, but it's unlikely that they're being denied by the housing authority for monetary reasons, because they do have access to that funding, and it was approved, I think, in 2016 as like a large amount of money that they could just spend down, so they don't need to go back to city council over and over again. It's money that's sitting in a CPA account specific for that purpose.
That's good to know. And I think we all recognize that there's two sides to every story, right? So we don't know the details. Go ahead.
So I also just wanted to note that I do graphic design and marketing, like for my day job. So part of what I'm hearing is that there's sort of a lack of awareness of what resources are available for people. And this is also something that I realized, like my neighbors had trouble paying rent during COVID, and she didn't know like what exactly the city or the state had available. So I don't know if this is something that, you know, I could turn into my personal project. But, you know, compiling like a visual, you know, set of infographics that say like facing eviction, here's who you can contact in the area. Here's like a bunch of phone numbers. Here's specific laws and guidelines. I don't know. I just think that some of it can be kind of hard to parse through when you're just like Googling and suddenly you're deep in some, you know, state law PDF and don't know what you're reading. So yeah, just a thought.
I fully second what you're saying, like 100%, and I would be happy to help if you need any help with that, because that's something that I thought of as well before I even became involved with the committee.
Cool.
So Jamie, is it on the planning department website? We actually have a list of things compiled, like a resource list, but it is like a list. So I do love the idea of it being more user friendly and you know, with infographics. Is it on the website?
Yes,
find
it's on the planning department page under programs and services, under the emergency rental assistance eviction program. Sorry, emergency rental assistance and eviction prevention program.
It says like view additional resources, and there's a link to a document.
We can cross-link. I just went to the Housing Partnerships committee page, and it's not listed there, so we could cross-link it if that would be helpful. And share my screen real quick if folks want to see it. This was that's the document. Let's see if I can. Okay. So it does have this, it does have some information. We spent a little bit of time at I guess not even, it's February to February 2021. So it wasn't even the beginning of the pandemic, but you know, it could definitely be jazzed up. I think the hardest part with any of these things is just getting the information to the right people, because, you know, you Google, you know, I don't know what number this would show up on a Google search, but it would just be, I think it's hard to get that information out there.
Well, may I make a suggestion in the interest of time, but also that it might make sense to, because again, we're not, you know, we have no sides in this state, right? Where we support the Easthampton Housing Authority, we support the tenants. So it might make sense, and it's a very good thing to know that you're a graphic designer. That's a very valuable skill for us, but maybe we wait for the association to actually form, because one of the things that can be really helpful is to hand out this kind of information. Problem is you can't ask the Easthampton Housing Authority to do it. So if there's a tenant association and we wanted to give it to them, then it might make sense to like revamp it and make it, you know, helpful. But absent that, I don't know, this is just my 2 cents, to have something really cool looking, but no one gets it, like, so that's just my thinking, that maybe we should just put a bookmark in it till the tenant association, because we can't really distribute it in the sense of like, that would, it feels, I don't want to say appropriate, but unless you disagree.
I don't disagree with what you're saying, Kate. I just think that there's a bigger audience than just the housing authority tenants for all of that information that's there. And when I looked at it, and my husband's a graphic designer, Kayam, so I tend to like think about things. When I look at a piece like that, I'm like using my husband's like graphic design hat, and I'm sure you looked at it and went, boy, that's text heavy and hard to read. Yeah, so it doesn't seem like a bad idea at some point. And we have always talked about, so one of the things that Jana mentioned when she was giving that awesome intro to who we are and what we do, is like community education is a big challenging piece for this group, because so many people have no idea like what is affordable housing, what does that mean, what's available. And that document is amazing and has lots of resources, But if you just needed something really fast, you're going to go a little crazy trying to look at it. So I don't think it's a horrible, I think it's a great idea to think about what are other better ways to get information out to the public. And I think that's always a challenge that we're facing. So just dropping that out there.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like go ahead, go work. Yeah, go ahead, work on it, and then, we'll also have this meeting, this CHAPA meeting in the spring where we'll have an audience of folks who are interested in affordable housing, but it would be also helpful for them to see like, what are the resources, like what are the things out there that people can access? Because I think a lot of people, if you're not in this world, then you don't know.
Well, and I don't know how the CHAPA meeting is going to go, and I do think we should head to that. But
Yes, 'cause
I
it's
think
getting
one
late.
thing, as we have some new folks here, is that we've always talked about and put it to the side for lots of reasons, mostly capacity, about social media, right? Like how can we communicate? And so I think it's worth, I don't think we should answer it now, but as we're kind of going into this CHAPA meeting, and we can talk a little bit more about it, is how can we talk more with, how do we communicate more with other folks that might be effective, I think. So I just wanted to put it out there that we've always had this kind of ongoing conversation about it, and it's like too much, we don't have the capacity to upkeep, to make a social media interesting. You have to post every so often. So, but just something to keep in the back of your minds, particularly for Zach. And will you just, I want to pronounce your name correctly.
Yeah, it's Kayam.
Kayam. Okay.
Yeah.
So for Zach and Kayam. Thanks.
Okay, we can share the list. I see, Jamie, are you good graying out the personal information that was in
Yeah.
there?
Do you want me
Very
to
smart
share?
of you.
Do you want me to share my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Let me- It's not showing up. Try it again.
So I think if you haven't looked at it recently, I actually think it's in pretty good shape. Jeff gave me a few suggestions, and I've added a bunch of people and contact information, which JB grayed out, which is good. Some of these people, I do think it's like, yes, we should contact them. And some of them, I think we just need to invite them. So I added like this, like, if we contact them, who should contact them? And then there's some that are highlighted because they have like holes. Like, I don't know, I don't have a name, and I'm hoping one of you does. But I think we could scroll past the tenant association because we kind of know that that's like in the works. So under environmental groups, so Jeff added Green Easthampton, which I didn't even know was a thing. So that was great. That's working on conservation and affordable housing. Fantastic. That's the contact person. Great. Is there anybody else? And like, I added Arcadia because I couldn't think of anybody else, but I don't know, like, who else cares about environment? Who else is working on environmental stuff in Easthampton?
What about the trustees? You
Yeah.
did, by the way, you did a fabulous job. I'm assuming you did most of this, Jana, because this was not how it looked before. But what about like, you know what I'm talking about on the preservation?
Yeah, I think they're on here.
They are.
I remember adding Marty Klein's name.
Okay.
The
I was gonna say,
yes,
That's got
coming from
Land Trust.
I can never pronounce past that
You're
word.
on here.
Comic.
You're 63.
Yep.
And there-
Is there anybody else that we can think of?
Probably. Is the rail trail on here? Yeah, sort of.
No, actually, they're not. The Manhan Rail Trail.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I know Barb LeBombard, that's one of her, the whole screen just went black on me. Did it for everybody else?
Yes.
All right, let me try that again. I moved it from one monitor to the
No.
and it said it's paused, but didn't give me an option to unpause it. Sorry.
Is Barbara on the Manhan Rail Trail?
She's the one in the, I think she's the chair.
Oh, okay.
And that's her volunteer gig, so.
Right. Okay. All right. We can add. Yeah. Okay. Jamie's adding it. Great.
The other person I was thinking about whose spouse I put on here, who is a housing attorney, but in the Boston area now, is Ashley Grant. So I don't know if you'd put her, see where it
I
says
did, I
fair
put
housing.
her- there's two tabs. One is active residents, and that's where I put like
Okay, gotcha.
former
I missed
members,
that.
and it's, well, I think it's hidden right now.
I see
But
it now. No, I see it at the bottom now. I mean, I see that there's that's another sheet.
yeah, so I added Ashley. I added some former members of
Mhm.
the housing partnership.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm also Facebook friends with the people who organize the AKINE, or the ANIA is Not Enough racial justice activist group.
Mhm.
And I can reach out to her and see if she would be comfortable with me sharing her personal contact information here, to have her invite. And I know that there's a few hundred people on that page that might be interested. So
That would be great. What was the name of it again? Can you just tell me again?
it's AKINE.
Okay.
I don't really know how they pronounce it, but
I thought AKINE was but who knows? Is it Kay Collins who you would put down there, Kayam, or somebody else?
I know that the admin on the Facebook page is Gabby Martinez Stevenson. She's a PhD student at UMass.
Yeah, I know her too, actually.
Yeah, so she might be someone to reach out to.
Okay.
For fair housing, were you guys thinking, I mean, and I would be happy to do this. I don't know if they're gonna come. I mean, I could reach out to Mass Fair Housing, which is Holyoke. There would be a number of reasons why they would want to come. First is they like to litigate in Easthampton. Now, that is actually true, but but I
Does
could,
anybody, that's where Ashley worked, right? Is she not work
Yeah.
there anymore, Jackie?
she doesn't work there anymore. She moved over to Suffolk Law School.
Does anyone else live in East Hampton?
I can contact the executive director to see.
We could also ask Ashley. I can
Oh,
email,
yeah, that's probably the easiest. Yeah, why
Yeah.
don't you ask Ashley? I'm sure she's still connected. She worked there forever.
but she'll also know, I mean, she still knows everyone there and who would live here, so. okay.
Right.
Well, and I think otherwise we could just invite the executive director and just say, just throw the invitation out there that we're doing it. That's still Maris Berquist, right? She's still the executive director. Okay. Okay. And Kate, any suggestion on a Wayfinders contact?
Yeah, I gotta say goodnight. Go jump to the other one. I'm going to say good.
Okay. Okay, so I have on here the highlighted Black Lives Matters racial justice. So that's the ANIA is Not Enough group, right? That covers that. Okay, perfect.
Sorry. You could do
Can
Yeah,
I make another suggestion for that, for the Black Lives Matters thing? And I would take the word police out of there, because who knows who's gonna see this and get annoyed. But,
Well,
and maybe this is an active resident person, but my friend Tolly Jones, who lives in town, writes a column in the Gazette, writes a lot about racial justice. Tolly, Tolley, but she might be considered an active resident instead of a stakeholder by category. I don't know.
Okay, and you don't have to say it publicly, but you have the contact information for that you could add.
I do.
Okay. Okay.
for Wayfinders, we could do either the VP of property management. I don't think anyone will come, but we could
Like
do
Faith?
Yeah, I was thinking Faith, or we could do Melfi.
Okay.
I think Faith would be more likely to send some, you know what I mean? Like, I think she's got more of her heart in the game.
Yeah. Okay.
But I don't think they're gonna probably send someone, but and you can put me down. I'm happy to try to reach out, I think it might be worth a call to her, if that makes any sense. And I don't,
Okay.
if you've got a better relationship, Jana, I feel like I know Faith, you know, but so I'm happy to do it, but I think she might send someone, because I think it would be really nice to have someone from Wayfinders.
Yeah, I think you probably know her better than I do. So if you
Okay.
want to just reach out. Yeah. And then, like, is there somebody that she can think of? Does she have anyone who lives in Easthampton? Like,
Well, it could
even a
also
property
be,
manager.
I was thinking it could also be the property manager that works.
Yeah.
at
Parsons Village. Yeah. Okay.
What was the name that you want to put down there?
Faith Williams. We also didn't have someone, oh, did we have Smock?
We don't have Smock, actually. We should add.
Can I ask a clarifying question here? Is like,
Yeah.
for an organization like SMOC that's like Framingham based, they have tenants here, but like the organization itself, I can't imagine that they would get involved in, like, they'd come to a meeting, but they're not going to be like, I can't imagine that they would actually take part long-term in this type of municipal engagement program. Does that make sense? Like, that we would want to try to like get the directors of SMOC involved, or would we want to like try to bring this directly to where those tenants live?
I have the contact name of not the on-site property. Well, I do have the contact name of the on-site property manager, but I have the regional manager who's based out of Springfield. His name is Jose.
Yeah.
So I could see inviting him because he's like local and they have properties here. But I agree, Jamie, like, I don't expect that they're gonna like roll up their sleeves and actually like do anything. But I think if they agreed to be on a listserv and showed up like at a public hearing to say, like, we serve people who live here, we really need this housing, we have a waiting list that's, 100 people long, whatever it is. I don't think that that's the worst thing in the world. Yes, it's Jose Camacho. And so I think that's just like an invitation. I don't think that we need to call him specifically and say, can you please come? But what about if you scroll up a little bit, Jamie? Keep going. So religious leaders is one of the categories. The Our Lady of the Valley had a social justice committee that we used to have a couple friends who would come occasionally, and they also managed the overflow shelter for ServiceNet when they would stay at the church. And the guy Mike that used to come actually passed away, which is sad. Yeah, because I was trying to find him and he passed away. But does anyone else have a contact at Our Lady of the Valley? I can't, but if you look on their website, there's nothing about the social justice committee. Like, I can't find like even like I don't even know if Father Doug's still there. The website is like very vague about the people. Does anyone know anything about that? No. Okay. I have a couple of friends that go there, so I can ask them. But the social justice committee was really into housing, and they were, they managed the overflow shelter. Their folks would like volunteer to stay overnight with the overflow people from the shelter. So I really feel like this would be like right up their alley. I just don't know how to contact any of them.
Jana, who's the precinct? What precinct is that in?
It's a great question. It must be 3.
Just because any good politician should know the religious leaders. No, I'm just being serious. Like,
that is Kate. That is brilliant.
oh,
I will figure out what precinct. I bet it's 3. What else? What other precinct would it be? 2?
3. I don't know. The lines are so weird, but I think it's 3. But I don't know.
It's
All
being
right, I will.
But Tom Peak is District 3. And
Okay. That's a great suggestion. I will figure that out and reach out to whoever the counselor is. Anyone know the contact at the Parent Teacher Association? Jackie?
Let me ask my friend Sarah Amoroso who's doing that stuff now,
Okay.
because Sarah's not.
If
Okay.
if you can't get it, Jackie, I could probably get it through my sister through the but
Yeah.
it would just more, you know, it's
I'll
through the
text
union
Sarah
stuff.
now.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Great. Anybody know anybody at Williston?
I know Eric Yates, who's like the head of advancement there, and he and his wife are pretty active. Kara McElhone is his wife. I'm happy to reach out to them.
We really want Kara
Yeah, Kara's amazing.
because
So
she's the director of she does she's really, she could be very helpful for us.
yep. So she would be an active resident, but her husband is the one who actually works at Williston. So he's Eric Yates. And then we can put her on
Williston?
the active.
Campus?
They live on campus.
Okay.
What was Kara, what?
MC capital ELHONE. It's Kara with a K, I think. For what it's worth.
Great. All right. I
Hmm.
won't torture you all for much longer because we're making a lot of good progress. All right, we talked about fair housing.
I'm sorry, who did we say that person was that we wanted to reach out to?
So I just reached out to Ashley Grant to find out about, but who is the director of the fair housing? That's who you all mentioned.
Meris, MERIS, Berquist.
BER, no, it's probably BER.
Yeah, it is. I think it is BER.
I couldn't figure out who was making that noise for a second, Kate.
I'm really tired tonight.
I understand, believe me.
All
You
right,
think an animal joined the group? You're like, there's an animal in my house.
just the mom of two small children.
Yeah, right.
All right, so Pat Bruff is on this list, technically under the
yeah.
school reuse committee, but
Yeah.
we know he wears many hats. I don't know anything about the Rotary Club or anything else. Do we have anybody
I'm thinking. Let me ask my next door neighbor about Rotary. I think she might.
I mean, I feel like it's probably Pat Bruff
No,
or like Tom Brown, who's already on
wait.
this list.
Is Mo Beliveau on here?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm making a list of the people I need to reach out to.
Yes, I'm making a list also. I will remind you of the people that you said you would reach out to.
Is Jamie, can you flip over to active residents again? Can you add Tamara Smith?
Oh, yeah.
I think she's probably more active than Chintzia right now.
Um, any former city councilors that we'd want to reach out to?
Besides Tamara?
Yeah.
What about Erica Flood?
Oh, yeah. Oh, and I don't know, is Peg on the other,
On the other one?
is she on the other one?
Yeah.
Okay. On the other side. Who else is a former city council? Well, Joe McCoy's on the other list.
Is Ron Shatner still in town? I know they sold their cute bungalow. See, I
know.
am old, you guys. Zach, I'm
I
old.
remember him. Now that
Yeah.
you said it, I wouldn't have come up with that on my own.
It's crazy. And Yoshi, I know Yoshi's on here, right? But she's kind of mostly in Burlington doing PhD stuff. But is here sometimes
It's the,
and
the,
good
the
people involved.
yes, and the beauty of doing a Zoom meeting is that you could be in Burlington and still attend.
Yep.
Speaking of
Oh.
Burlington and former officials, Jessica Allen's not on the list. I know she works on with at
Oh
Valley.
yeah, add
like
her.
involved in
Well,
a bunch.
Jackie added her husband.
Yeah.
Sure did.
But
Yeah.
yes, add Jessica,
Well, and
please.
Jess, because Jess is at Valley CDC, obviously, right?
Yeah.
I mean, having this list, we can always, it's still going to be accessible to us. So as we think of other people, we can add them too.
Yes, but Chapel also wants it. So I want it to be like, it doesn't have to be perfect, but I want it to be like, I mean, it's in pretty good shape, I think, right now to be able to send to them to say, here's where we've got. I think they just want to see like who's on it and how many people do we
Yeah.
have. And, you know, as a reminder for our new folks, like we will also broadly advertise this. So it's not an invitation only event. We will make sure it's out there on social media. Jamie, I think it would be great to time it with the press release because I know we haven't done the press release about Easthampton's involvement in the MEI. So I think including it in the press release and then there, you know, could be some press about the meeting.
I have a question about who we're adding to this list. I
Yeah.
don't see a lot of like business owners and like local businesses. Is that something we're trying to stay away from, or is that just a coincidence?
It's just a coincidence. If you
Okay.
would like, yeah, I mean, I think if you scroll back, go back to the other one.
We have the Chamber of Commerce. If you have specific people you think might come,
Yeah.
Okay, because my uncle owns
Because
a business. He's right on Main Street. So I mean,
Yep.
could add him on here. I don't know.
Who's that?
Yeah.
Banus and Ficker Insurance.
well, and
the-
again, just for the overview of this, it doesn't have to be like, these aren't people that necessarily have to like, Jana did a better spiel on this, but like this first meeting, like it will be a mix of people who will be really into what we're talking about and maybe people that just like come just for this meeting and just kind of help us out. So anyone you can think of that you think might come, like my
Okay.
sister's on that list.
Is
I'm like, she'll come.
Pat Bruff with Bannis and Ficker, or is he with
Can you say it again? I'm sorry.
Think in Paris. He's
Think in
they
Paris.
own Think in Paris.
Okay.
So yeah, Zach's dad's competition, basically, right?
Like oddly similar names. So it always like when I first moved here, I was like, they all sound the same. But yeah, I mean, business
you have a-
owners who can want to attract employees or have trouble keeping employees finding housing is also very important to include.
You know, I would put Casey Douglas on here too from
Mm.
Galaxy because they're very community oriented.
any of the mill owners, or do we want to stay away from that group?
Oh.
I
think
just
we
got the
should invite him.
PTO. I got the PTO names. If you want to scroll back up to the PTO. Where did it go?
It's keep going. It's right
Oh, there we go. I see it, school representative in
Yeah.
yellow.
Yeah.
So Ann Talley and Amy Gogger.
Great.
I was also thinking about teachers who might be interested. And Judith Breyer, who runs like a, Zach, did you go to the middle school?
I didn't know. I went to school in South Hadley.
Jackie,
Time, did you go to middle school here? You did.
Yeah, I went to Whitebrook.
Okay. Do you know Miss Breyer? Who like does that, oh, what was it called? She runs some really great student group, and I can imagine her being interested in this.
Okay.
What were you going to say, Jamie?
What were those two names again?
Oh, Ann Talley, Anne. Yep, and Amy Gogger, who I think is a teacher also, actually.
Also, I don't know if we want to reach out to the people or the board of River Valley Co-op. I know that there's a lot of people who might be interested in that kind of local advocacy.
Good point.
A really good one too, because the whole affordability, they have a lot of employees there.
Yeah, well, I initially got to that thinking about like local unions from like the teacher thing.
Does anyone know anyone? I don't in the pot shops, just because we have 200. I don't know anyone, but I'm just throwing out there. No, because these are things like, again, if you don't have, you know, Easthampton used to be the affordable place that people would go to live. And now it's like, you know, people aren't be able to live and work here. So, but I don't know any.
Jamie or Jeff could help us with the names of some of the folks, like, or I don't know, they have a permit. I would assume we could figure out who they are. Or, I mean, we are going to include the chamber. I don't know, are they Chamber of Commerce members?
Probably.
Maybe. I don't know if they
Well, all
need
the permitting information is very public, so.
I think we definitely should include the mill building owners, and I would include Mike, what's his name? The One Ferry guy. No, the one from One Ferry.
Mike Michon.
Mike Michon, yes.
I was thinking Mike Superson from Big E's, because he's another one who's very, very
Good one.
community focused and has folks who work there who need affordable housing too.
Yes, good call.
Mike's a great guy.
Very supportive.
Well, and that's what we want. Like, I don't anticipate some of these people are going to like roll up their sleeves and do the work, but we want people who are going to be like, yes, I will come to that meeting and talk about this.
You know what else is occurring to me is that we could pull, I don't have it handy, I know it's on the website, but we could pull the master plan and grab the folks who are on the master plan committee.
From all that many years ago.
Yeah, I mean, we can do some cleaning of data on that, but it's not a bad place to start. Like I think Jenna, I was telling you, I ran into Dave Gardner the other day, and he's somebody who actually does, he lives here in Easthampton, but he works in South Hadley as a building inspector, which I didn't know.
I thought he moved to Texas.
Nope. I saw him we were getting booster shots, and so was he, and there he was.
Wow.
Yep. So that might just be you could probably just grab that off the web somewhere, Jamie Webb.
Yeah. I'm just looking for, I know I have the document somewhere. So, and it has the list of the committee members at the opening page. I can picture it.
Yep.
So I'll add that in a minute. But I was also just trying to find out who else was a mill owner. Let's see.
Who owns Keystone?
James Whitmer. That's the name.
Yeah. What's her name? Kelly. Maybe they're just I'm thinking about who the managers are, maybe, of Keystone. Anyway, sorry. Thought in progress.
What about the guy? Never mind, I'm not going to say. Forget it. I was thinking of brewery owners, and then I was like, no, never mind.
No. Well, I just actually thought of though, maybe we could ask our friends at the economic development stuff. This is a good use of our partners, and ask them if they could, they're like, so, because the reality is, I don't think we're gonna get a lot of people, but the truth is, if we look at businesses, it was a good, I don't know if it was Zach or Cam who said it, that, I think it was you, Zach, that businesses really have a stake in like having some affordable housing in Easthampton.
Yeah.
And so I can't think of the businesses, but the Economic Development Committee was like really obsessed with like, that on all that development, the industry on it's not on Pleasant Street. I think it is, no, it becomes something else when you like basically between
College Highway.
no, it's not the College Highway. It's like there's like some manufacturing when you're leaving, like you're on Pleasant
It's like
Street.
Industrial Drive.
Yeah, Industrial Drive.
Yep. And Jamie, if you paste all those in, I will go and get rid of folks who I know are not here anymore. Okay.
Like a blast.
Or don't live in town anymore. Or, oh, Stuart. Oh, I miss Stuart.
Gwen and Tom Brown are both on this list, and I think that's a great idea, Kate, though, is to reach out to them and say, like, who are we missing? Like, who do you think we should add?
I'm only bringing this up because I live in one of his apartments. But what about going to Nikki D's? Thoughts on like?
Yep.
Yeah, no, and right, business owner and landlord.
Yeah.
Good point.
I also know the owner of New City Brewery, Sam Dibble, so I could add him on here.
Okay.
A good brewery owner.
Yeah.
Judge Fine's husband used to own
Recorded,
the other one.
I just meant I like New City's beer.
Ginger beer is good.
Yeah, Dina Fine's husband is Danny Workman, who's one of the partners in New City Brewery.
Is he still part of it? Do you know?
I think he's one of the partners, but he doesn't live in town, and the guy Zach knows, I think, does, right?
Oh, yeah, then do that one.
But I've known Danny since 1993 when I moved here, so if we need to reach out to him, I'm sure he owes me a favor for something.
Oh, and Parizo's on this list. That's a good one.
And Parizo is somebody I've been thinking about because I've used her for all of my closings every time we refinance our house. And I think she's interested. I just can never get her to commit.
Well, she used to be on the planning board, zoning board. Like when Parsons was first proposed, I think she was on the planning board, but she lives in town and she's a business owner in town. Okay. Well, I'm conscious of the time. It's almost 8. I know that this is our later meeting time than we usually have. So I think this list is in really good shape. And I would encourage folks, anybody that you suggested that we didn't have the contact information for, if you could log on to this afterwards and put the contact information in, that would be great. I think you all have the link. And I will get back in touch with Dana and Lily from Chapa.
My friend Clara Grape, who passed away, is on here.
Oh.
That makes me sad.
I'm sorry.
Well, it happens. There's probably a couple other folks on there that we should take off, but I'll go through it later and do some cleaning too, Jamie.
Yep, I did as well. I got rid of the few that I was aware of.
Yeah, and I see a couple more that will take off there. Like Sue L. Bartone moved to Canada, so can't count on her. Anyway. JP's already on there.
Yeah, I was gonna go through and get rid of the duplicates.
Yeah, no worries. All right. I'm gonna go eat dinner if that's okay.
Great.
Yes, but just when you said the JP thing, I did realize, do we have, is JP still at Taylor Real Estate? Where is he? Because we should have someone from a real estate place,
We
no?
have Laura Scott, and she's a
Okay.
realtor as well.
Yeah,
And we have,
Bob Cannon and Chuck Connor.
Do we have our, okay, and I think we've also got Lindsay, is Lindsay on there? Is she still doing our city councilor who's also a realtor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. So I think we're in good shape. Yeah, folks can go in and take a look at it again. Get me any other contact information that you want me to add, you know, in the next like couple weeks so that we can sort of get this sort of in a more final state. But I think it's looking pretty good. I appreciate everybody's help. And thank you, Jamie. And I think we could adjourn the meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I second that.
Great. So it is 7:58 and the meeting is adjourned.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.